Hey everyone, it's Sunday. It's the beginning of my spring break. With I attend Northwestern online, their online program for clinical counseling, and the way classes are, we actually begin asynchronous work, which is like our homework, readings, assignments, and stuff, a week before the actual live session. So officially, officially, we have 2 weeks of spring break. Unofficially, we've really only got one because this week there's no work or anything to be done. I am still in my internship. I'm actually moving from practicum to internship. I'm staying at the same site. I'm going to work through, um, even though I don't get credit until the actual beginning of the quarter for my internship hours. Um, I don't want to keep my clients on hold. I don't want to keep them waiting because I work with predominantly individuals who are neurodivergent, whether that be autism and ADHD or the schizophrenia spectrum. Um, and I do work with a few who are just having um, problems right now that they've got to work through. And so I don't want to keep them on hold just so that I could go on spring break. Um, Even though I desperately need the break, I'm going to be graduating in December. Um, so I can hold tight until then. Um, and so, since there's no work to be done this week at all, on my days off, I wanted to finally get some reading done. This is the final book in the Gravekeeper uh, story in the book franchise by Darcy Coates, The Vengeful Dead. I have all the others up there on my second shelf. Down at this end are all my Darcy Coates. Big Darcy Coates fan. Um, but then next week, assignments start. I don't have any live sessions for classes, but assignments do start. Um, so I will have homework to do, but I don't have to be in any classes online. Um, and then at the end of the quarter, we have 10-week quarters at Northwestern. So at the end of the quarter, week 9 is our last week of assignments, essentially. So we have no assignments during week 10, no asynchronous work really that needs done. Um, and so we only have live classes um, during week 10. So I'll be beginning my internship quarter in I guess officially it'll be in 2 weeks. I'm not sure how that works um, with our schedule. If the hours I put in next week will count towards my internship, direct and indirect hours or not, because I got placed so late in my practicum. Um, I should have been placed in last June or May, I believe. No, June. Um, but I actually did not get placed until the end of November. And I started at my site in the middle of December. Um, I didn't start seeing clients until I want to say in the middle of February. Um, and that's because during December I had to go through the training and everything for the site. And then in January I shadowed assessments and stuff. Um, but I've been working closely with some other therapists, other counselors. Um, during that time, I got to shadow hybrid court, which is kind of a um, substance use program. The judge who handles the cases there, it seems like he comes from a social work background. What I observed was a very positive experience. Um, everyone who's in Almost everyone who's in the hybrid court program has a lot of respect for the judge, um, because he understands about addiction and everything, and he understands that there are problems in a person's life um, that lead them down the road to addiction. And so what I observed, it was a very positive experience. And he's got a candy dish there on the public defender's table that it's essentially on the honor system, where if one of the individuals in the program, if they feel like they deserve it, they can take some candy after they're seen. Um, and if they do really well, um, their case gets heard first, and then they're free to leave the courtroom. Um, so it's a very positive and uplifting experience. And so I've been speaking with the counselor that I shadowed for that, and I asked if she would like any help in that program. And all of a sudden, um, she kind of brightened up and she's like, absolutely. So I've got to, she's got to figure everything out and everything. I'm going to continue shadowing her in the hybrid court program. And so I'll be going to court with her on Friday mornings and all that. And then see about getting me trained to lead the group, the therapy group that is a part of this. Um, and then on April 10th, I'll be going with her and a bunch of others to our state capitol because it's Behavioral Health Advocacy Day. And so we are going to be going and advocating the for changes to be made on the state level when it comes to DCFS, and a few other behavioral health issues um, surrounding that. And so when I began seeing clients, I started with intake assessments. That's where the clients come in. They tell us what's going on, why they're wanting to see a therapist, and all that. We're a community behavioral health program. Um, and so we go through everything and get them set up, put them on the wait list for mental health therapy, group therapy, um, if they're needing substance use, stuff like that. And then they go onto the wait list and wait. And when I started taking clients, my very first client was a transfer. They were seeing one clinician, and that clinician got extremely busy with other duties. And so they were transferred to me. And then the list got sent out every week of clients on the wait list, and I would generally choose the ones that um, were struggling the most. That a lot of clinicians, um, they generally wouldn't be the first choice for a lot of clinicians. And I'm not saying in my practice, but in general. And so unlike other interns, I was able to build my client list relatively quickly and get all my direct hours in very quickly. We had to have at least 50 direct hours during practicum, and direct hours is any time you speak with a client. So I was able to get all 50 of those hours in within like a month and a week, just a little over a month. And generally, you have 3 quarters to do that, and I did it in just a little over a month. And then going into internship, I think it's like 240 direct hours, and then I can't remember how many indirect hours. But once internship starts, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time because I've got to get in so many direct hours and so many indirect hours. But I'm using this time during spring break while still working at my site. A lot of interns will take the time off in between quarters to take their breaks, but I'm using it as experience time. Gaining experience in the field so that I can be a better therapist. And since I graduate in December anyway, I'm going to have some time in between graduation or the last week of classes and getting my license, because once I graduate, I do have to take the exam for my licensure, LPC, licensed professional counselor. I'm hoping to get hired by the same site that I'm interning at. And then eventually I may, after 2 years of being an LPC, I can then test for my LCPC, licensed clinical professional counselor. And that means if once I get my LCPC, then I would be able to start my own practice on my own. I wouldn't need supervision or anything like that. However, at this point, I'm not sure if private practice is the route I want to take. For the longest time, I wanted to be in private practice. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to work with very specific individuals, neurodivergent individuals, individuals who are part of the alternative subculture, stuff like that. However, being in this environment, being in my internship, working alongside the people I work with, it's been refreshing. It's been nice. I come home at night and I'm exhausted, but it's a good exhaustion. I feel like I'm doing good work. And I feel like I'm in the environment that I need to be in, around the people I need to be around. So I don't know. Maybe once I get my LCPC, maybe I'll just do part-time. If I'm able to stay at the clinic that I'm at, maybe I'll just do part-time there and then have my own practice part-time. I don't know. That's still like 3 years away. Maybe more, maybe less. I'm not sure. But yeah, today, like I said, today's Sunday. Thursday was my birthday. I turned 42. And we had Godfather's Pizza, some cheesecake, and I got to open presents. And then Friday after work, I took the family to the Old Bowl in Taylorville and went bowling. It was my kids' first time bowling. They're 13 and the other's about to turn 15. Um, and they had never bowled before because we had plans on taking them bowling, and then COVID happened, and then our local bowling alley closed down, and um, it was just it was hard finding the time and everything. So we went, and they had a blast. My daughter, she she did very well for her first time bowling. Um, and then my son, we did two full um, games, the four of us, and then my son asked if he could do one more, and so we let him do a game by himself. Um, and we have plans on going back next weekend. And it just reminded me of there were a few times when I was a kid that I would go bowling on my birthday, and it was nice. It's really nice. Um, but with that being said, with it being spring break, I want to get some reading done. I had plans on getting some writing done. I have two books that I'm working on. One is the next installment in the Hall of Screams series. I'm almost done with. I'm on page 73, and generally Hall of Screams goes to, I think I max out at like 150. Um, I don't want to do any more than 150 pages in that series because they are children's books. They're very much along the lines of Goosebumps. Um, and then another one is a book about autism. My own personal experience, educating people on autism and everything. Um, and once internship starts, I have some books I have on hold that I bought a while back that I've been waiting for internship to start so I can count those towards my direct hours. Um, and to top that off, I've been learning the bass. Um, I used to play guitar pretty regularly. Um, I wasn't all that great. Um, Typical punk rock fashion. I mostly did power chords. Um, and then I took a break. I stopped playing for the longest time. About, I want to say close to 17 years, maybe more. Um, and then I got a guitar, this one right here. And I started playing it. Played it on and off. Never really played it seriously. I got it a few years back. And then I started picking it up again a few weeks, well, a couple months ago actually now. And playing it more. And I decided to get a bass. I would tinker around on bass. My ex-wife had a fretless bass that I would play a little bit here and there. Um, Not really seriously, just kind of messing around with it. But I ended up getting a bass, which is this white one right here. And my uncle, um, he decided to send me one of his guitars. It's a Fender Stratocaster right here. So I've been tinkering around on that too. Um, and I've been playing pretty seriously since um, I started picking up the instruments again. I'll generally spend an hour or two on the bass, and then I'll play the guitar for a little bit. Then I'll move back to the bass, and then while I'm sitting here in my office watching TV or something, I'll pick up the bass and just kind of fiddle around on it. Um, Something I've always had to do is when it comes to tablature, I think it's because I have dyscalculia. Never officially been tested, but I've always been horrible with math. Um, and I'm autistic, so the chances of me having one of those, dyslexia, dyscalculia, or another learning disability, very high. Um, and even in elementary school, when it came to math, I just couldn't get it. I can't tell you how many times I had to stay in from recess and practice my math flashcards, um, for simple things, addition and some basic multiplication and stuff. Um, and I just wasn't getting it. Even today, I still count on my fingers. Um, I have to arrive at places very early because I'm afraid of losing track of time. I can't. It's hard for me to determine how long it's going to take for me to do something. Um, and so with tablature, it's always been difficult for me to read it because for me, and I did a little bit of research on this. There are some Reddit forums and stuff that talk about this, and it generally involves people with dyslexia or dyscalculia, where tablature seems flipped to us. So, like on standard tablature, it goes G, D, A, E, and that's because the higher notes are up top and lower notes on bottom. Well, it's always difficult for me to translate that in my brain while I'm playing. So I generally have to rewrite the tablature like this. EADG. Or for guitar, EADGBE. You know. And that's because top note, top string. That's how I'm able to make it make sense in my own mind. And I've always had to do that since I began picking up the guitar. Um, it's just, that's how my brain works. Um, and it's been a lot easier for me to play and read music when I have it transferred over. I've got more tablature that I've had to do that with. Um, but yeah, in my free time, I've been just tinkering around on the bass and the guitar and learning new songs. Um, my fingers are finally starting to callous again. Um, so yeah, today I think I'm going to. I have these smart light bulbs, which if you see it flashing, that's why, because I have it in nature mode, rainstorm. Um, and then once I get off here, I'll have the actual sounds of the rainstorm that are connected with the light bulb coming through my Alexa device. Um, and I'll just read this, and then eventually, let's see, what books do I have to read? I have Sincerely Your Autistic Child. I have ADHD 3rd edition. And I have Neurodiversity Affirming Psychotherapy. Along with a few others that I will be reading for my indirect hours. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, it's just going to be a relaxing day today. I know I just kind of rambled in this video, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to ramble. Sometimes we need to just let the thoughts flow. And if some people want to listen, they can listen. If not, they can change the channel. So I just wanted to update you guys on where I'm at right now. I know I haven't been putting a lot of videos up lately on this channel. I do have a couple other channels I've been trying to get some content up on. I have my Comigeddon TV channel that works on that focuses on geek culture, comic books, movies, toys, toy reviews, stuff like that. If you're into that stuff, head on over there, check it out. Comigeddon TV. Another channel is my SMC Reviews channel. I started it when I had my lawn care company. And since I've retired from lawn care and went back to school and everything, it's just kind of been a catch-all until very recently. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do with it until I want to say January, when I turned it into a review channel. I review different things, everyday things that I buy. Review clothing, shoes, things I've bought for my therapy practice, things I use regularly, just different stuff, you know. And that's SMC Reviews if you want to check it out. I've also got my true crime channel, Psych Macabre. The word psych, PSYCH dash macabre, MACBRE. And with that, I do a lot on true crime, specifically serial killers, mass murderers, spree killers, stuff like that. We were doing a podcast on there for a while, but I just got so busy I couldn't keep up with it. And so that's been on hiatus for a while. That I try to throw things on every few months, just to keep it alive. And then once I graduate, I do plan on focusing more attention and more time on all 4 channels, I guess it is now, and putting videos up pretty regularly then. So yeah, if you guys want, check out those other channels, give them a subscribe, check out the videos on there. It'll help me out. I've also been posting on TikTok a lot. Find me on there under Mr. Cornthwaite. Yeah. Till then, I'm going to go ahead and finally read the final book in the Gravekeeper storyline series by Darcy Coates. It's called The Vengeful Dead. And just try to spend the day relaxing. I do have to do dishes at some point today, but that can hold off until dinner time. I guess I'll wash dishes while making dinner. So have a good one, everyone.